G'day mate, 40 here. So this is last chance you, all right? So this is the last off-ramp before you go to your annihilation, right? If you don't get the message here, all right, you might very well end up in the next Charlottesville. You might very well end up storming the Capitol. You might join the Boogaloo Boys. So think of this as last chance you. Right, this is the last exit off the online motorway. All right, after me, it's nothing but death and despair, addiction, crack cocaine, hookers, just terrible, terrible things. So this is the last stop for polite society on the online off-ramp. All right, you either get off here, or who the heck knows what will happen. You might end up trying to sack the United States Capitol, or you may join a bunch of haters. You might set off nuclear weapons. This show is Last Chance You. Now, there's a real Last Chance You, and it is great. I've watched every episode. Right, it's on Netflix. Last Chance You. This is the first one where they're focusing on basketball. So the previous 4 seasons were community college football, and I know all about Last Chance U. I went to community college for 3 years. So in my senior year at high school, I'd known for the previous 4 years that I wanted a career in journalism. So I was all set to go to Cal State University, Northridge. And I was accepted. I had like a journalism. I didn't have particularly great grades in high school. I had a 3.3 GPA, and I had, I think, 1135 on my SAT. So I think my SAT verbal 3.3 in the top 90%. But overall, I was far from stellar. And so I thought, okay, I'll go to Cal State University, Northridge. They've got a good journalism program. And there are people I knew at the Auburn Journal who'd gone to Cal State Northridge. And I thought, okay, that's that. And then one Sabbath afternoon, I'm hanging out with family and friends. And I thought, oh, why don't I go back to Australia? Spend a year down under, spend time with my brother, live with my brother. Maybe I'll work in his plant nursery. And so then I got the idea, oh, I'll just go back to Australia and work for a year after high school. So I did that. And that marginally improved my scholarly inclinations. So I came back to America. I went to work for K-High, K-Hill Radio in the news department, and I started going to Sierra Community College, where the San Francisco 49ers trained during summer camp. And I was thinking, still planning to major in journalism, but no. During my year off, I thought, now I want to major in economics. I started reading a lot of books, including on economics. So I thought,
Okay, that's good.
bloody hell.
Excuse me,
10
are you
hours
Jewish?
walking New
You gotta be
York.
Jewish. Are you Jewish?
Hello? Come on, you're not fooling anybody.
Are you Jewish?
Excuse me.
Oh, you're Jewish.
Come on.
Come on, don't hide it.
3,000 years, beautiful tradition. Now repeat after me, Baruch.
Hey, Moshe, make me bracha. Little shech, you know, little something.
Hey, Hami, do mitzvah. Come back here, make your mother happy.
I don't need to see your shemekel to know which way you pray, Bal.
Just come on, repeat. Just read this one for me. I'm not even gonna ask you.
Oh, we got a live one here. David with me. Juba, let's go. Come on. Whoa, dude. Hey, think about this next time you bite into a bagel.
Sniff Lancha. I got a foreskin
Your name on it.
Get into Dhaka? Into Dhaka?
Oh, look at that schnoz.
Baruch Hashem.
You were naive, huh? You can't deny that. Come on. Touch the tefillin.
What, you can't say Baruch? You can't say Baruch.
Rap with me. Rap. Come on.
Okay, so I finally got vaccinated today. I got the Pfizer vaccination because I volunteer, and my volunteer work causes me to interact with a bunch of people. So got all hooked up. So volunteering is awesome. I know friends who've gotten married through volunteering. It's a good way to meet people. I used to go to synagogue many years ago and think, oh, does anybody here care about me? And my therapist challenged me, well, do you care about anyone at synagogue? I thought, oh, that's a good challenge, mate. And by volunteering, it's cool. So normally, as a 54-year-old bachelor in Orthodox Judaism, you are regarded as a loser, possibly a creep. All right, But if you volunteer, then you're the guy who sweeps the floors or looks after the kids or whatever your volunteer position is. Then it's awesome. A lot of bachelors I know, after about age 40, if they don't get married, they feel quite uncomfortable going to synagogue because they feel that everyone's regarding them as a loser. But if you go to synagogue and you have a job to do, if you have a volunteer position, right, then you're a useful, contributing member of society, and it's a lot easier to make friends and to get Shabbos invites and to get set up for Shadukim, for a match, possible marriage. You're a contributing part of the community, and it feels great. Let me tell you, I got my first shot, the Pfizer vaccine, about 3 hours ago. I feel good. No problems from getting the vaccine. I'm supposed to get the second shot in about 3 weeks. So love the vaccine. Glad I took it. All right, Last Chance U is terrific. So I spent 3 years at community college, Sarah Community College in Rockland, about 30 minutes north of Sacramento. And I remember I was hanging out with a friend one Sunday afternoon. And at the time, I was planning to major in economics and go to Sacramento State. And my friend's dad had a prestigious position with the California Department of Corrections. And he says, well, you know what they say about Sac State, don't you? And I said, no, I don't know. He said, they say, well, somebody's got to go there. And I was so stung by that comment. Right? It's amazing how just like one stray comment can completely change your life. This fat guy I knew, he got out of the car one day and someone yelled at him, hey, watch out, fatso. Someone driving by, and it just completely changed his life. He lost like 100 pounds. Greg Kreitzer is his name, Critser. And he wrote a book on fat. And so just the stray comments that we can make, like sometimes the brutal honesty can transform someone's life. So I thought, yeah, why should I go to a loser college like Sac State? And I wasn't particularly serious my first year at community college. I had like about a 3.2 average, and the spring semester I basically had mono. So I was just really miserable. I had mono. I was just struggling through. I was the editor of the college newspaper, and I was working at the radio station. And after my friend's dad said that, Sac State, somebody's got to go there, I thought, okay, I ought to raise my horizons. And I decided, okay, I applied to UC Davis. I'll go to UC Davis. That's a good university. I'll study economics at UC Davis. But then I so enjoyed working in landscaping in the summer of 1986. And this is so typical of my life. I keep ricocheting from one extreme to another. All right. Probably indicative of someone with insecurity, narcissism, and high levels of neuroticism. After I was sick, basically the first 5 months of 1986 with mono, it just felt terrible. I got a job in June of 1986 working in landscaping. And this job was not just 8 hours a day. It was 10, 12 hours a day, swinging a pick, using a shovel. I mean, it was just pick and shovel, just digging ditches and laying down pipe. It was really hard work. And Sacramento summers are hot. I mean, we're talking typically 20, 30, 40 days straight with temperatures over 100 degrees. So it was really tough. But on my third day at work, we went to the home of this great bloke, Doug Hanslick. He was a real estate developer in Rockland, and he noticed my Australian accent, and he just noticed me. It was just felt so good with all the grime and the dust and the menial work that I was doing. Like most of the people I was working with were Mexicans, probably here in the country illegally. And I'd come a couple of years ago from Australia where I was earning about $30 an hour because Australia has much more immigration restrictions. So wages for unskilled labor are much higher. And now I'm in California and the wages are about $4 an hour. And most of the people I'm working with were Mexicans. And so I'm feeling like a total loser. But this guy noticed my Australian accent. He said, oh, my daughter always wanted to visit Australia. And so he introduces me to his 16-year-old daughter. So I was about 20. And I just felt acknowledged as a human being. It's hard to overstate how important that was to me during the approximately 2 years that I was working in landscaping, that most of the time I just felt, icky and dirty and very low in social status. And sometimes we'd work at Cal State Chico, and I heard it was the #1 party school in the nation. There were all these hot chicks, and they didn't give me a second look because I was swinging a pick and wielding a shovel and just, doing Mexicans work. And I remember once I needed a ride. The truck broke down, and the college kids, they would just fly by me, and I'm on the freeway on the road and like got my thumb out for a ride, and they just go right by and laugh and laugh and laugh. Like, oh, you grew up in Anderson, California, Northern California. Okay, Holly, so you know what I'm talking about. So there are all these hot chicks, and they just don't give me a second look. And I'm smart and I'm talented and I'm charming, but because I'm working with Mexicans doing Mexican work, they don't give a damn. They just laugh at me as they drive on by. But Doug Hanslick, he acknowledged that I was different, that I was smart, that I had an Australian accent, and I just fell in love with his family. And I so loved working for him that I didn't go back to school in the fall. I'd planned about 18 units, and I went back the first day and dropped all my classes but 2. So I dropped 12 of the units, just kept 6 units. And I mean, I was running into hot chicks on that first day. It's like, Luke, what the hell are you doing? You're the last person I thought who'd ever drop out of college. I mean, there was this one chick, she'd lost some weight. She just looked amazing in her mini skirt first day of college in September. And I was due to be the college's editor of the college newspaper, in a position of some prestige. And I was walking away from all that to do Mexican work. Holly says, I did Mexican work too. You should have come up to Anderson and worked at Burger King or painted houses with me. So I so enjoyed, I was so intoxicated by the little bits of just human attention that Doug Hanslick and his family would dole out to me that it just completely went to my head. And I basically quit college to work in landscaping. And let me tell you, working in landscaping in winter is a whole different experience. I thought the summer was bad, but in winter, it was absolutely horrible. I mean, the temperatures sometimes go into the 30s, often in the 40s. It would often be raining. It's just a miserable experience. I quickly realized I'd made a gigantic mistake. But my neighbor, his brother was the radio announcer at Stanford University. So I think my neighbor was Bill Murphy, and his brother was the radio announcer for Stanford football, basketball for about 30 years. And he said, oh, you'll be fine. This is just a temporary experience. And he was absolutely right. I so hit bottom. It was so miserable working in the winter in landscaping, doing, Mexican work, and mainly working with other Mexicans, and just, nobody looking at me as a respectable white guy. The only white people I was working with were drug addicts, recovering drug addicts, just often just real dregs of society, homeless people, meth freaks. That's who I'm working. Oh man, Grant is here trying to take the off ramp to Last Chance U, and you're reading your wank diary. Believe me, it gets better from here. And I think there was a point to all this. Oh yeah, I spent 3 years at community college. That winter was such a miserable experience working in landscaping that I got serious. And after that, I basically got straight A's. There was one exception. I got a B in a calculus class. But other than that, for the next 3 semesters, I got straight A's, including one semester I took 18 units. I got straight A's. I got accepted into UCLA. I was going to major in economics at UCLA. I kind of had my future planned out. So it took me a long time to get my act together. So many people I knew right after college, they went, of course, straight to university, and they graduated in 3 years. Well, after 4 years, I was only halfway through to my undergraduate degree. And then I got sick. I was bedridden for the next 6 years. So a bit of a slow trajectory for me. Anyway, I really enjoy this Netflix documentary series. So this is now Last Chance U Basketball. So this series premiered in 2016. And it's the most resilient and imitated sports reality franchise of the past decade, says Hollywood Reporter. It launched its first 2 seasons at East Mississippi Community College, and its breakout star was an inspiring academic advisor. Then the next 2 seasons were at Independent Community College about a hot-headed coach who was initially entertaining, then infuriating Jason Brown, because Netflix fame can magnify your personality traits for good and for ill. Then they fled Brown and they went to Laney College in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it became a season about urban gentrification and the role junior colleges can play in changing communities. And now, season 6, they've completely left football behind, and they've gone to East Los Angeles College, where the basketball team is hoping to win the state championship. And their coach is amazing. John Mosley, he's this black guy who played a little bit of pro basketball. He's a Christian. He's ultra intense, and he's great. I love this guy.
Well, I had a summer class to finish, and I didn't get it done.
Talking about his experience.
You can't go Division I. I'll go to this master's college. This is Christian college. And ultimately, that's where God wanted me. There's nothing I can do about it.
So I didn't really have my act together after, from 18 to 22. I was only halfway through to an undergraduate degree. So typically people go to community college because they don't have their act together frequently. Now, sometimes it's a good decision. You get to stay at home, you save money on fees, but often people are simply antisocial, they're assholes, they're jerks, they're failures. They don't have the academics to play Division I, right? They can't meet the strenuous academic requirements of a USC or an LSU. I mean, come on, those places are jokes, all right? That's why LSU and USC tend to be much better at football than UCLA, where I went. UCLA has much higher standards, but some people can't even meet the pathetic standards of places like LSU, and so they end up in community college. Or a lot of these athletes, you're going to be shocked, they're not really very good scholars, and often they've had brushes with the law, they've spent time in jail, and often they're facing a situation where the coach goes to bat with them for the judge. And so it's either playing community college ball or going to prison. This guy talking about his own experience.
There was this missions trip to go to Brazil.
John Mosley.
There's no television programs that are in English. I can't speak the language. And all I brought was really to read was my Bible and my devotion book. And then I became more convicted because I started to know who he truly was. We were playing exhibition games, and at halftime, we would share our faith. And I was speaking to people that looked like me, people that kind of came from the same background. I mean, kids had no shoes, and all I can think about is those kids look like the kids back home. And I'm sitting here like, what am I doing thousands of miles away? And literally down the street from where I live in South Central, it's the same kid. I went back and I started a group called Save Through Hoops. And I had no intentions of being a coach. I just said, hey, I want to bring kids in and minister. And I kind of realized that I can do both. We were ministering while we were coaching, and I kind of fell in love with that.
This is ministry to those young men. But sometimes people kick you to the curb in the world. They don't care about you. Think about the African-American young men, the minority young men. Sometimes they don't care about them. Act like they do, but they just kick them to the curb and show them in a negative light. But then here he is.
Okay, this is the coach's wife. She's an amazing woman.
Allowing these kids to be successful, get their education, go on to a 4-year university, do something and contribute to society in a positive way.
He prays for me. Legit, like, there's only 2 people that I know that pray for me, and that's my mom and my grandmother. If I needed to come to speak with him right now, he would be there. Like, he's up right now, like, waiting for a phone call if need be.
Yeah, this is, I think, Joe Diamond, and he was ranked 21 of all high school prospects. He blew out his knee in his senior year of high school, and then he just self-destructed at Penn State. But this is a guy who could play in the NBA. but incredibly self-destructive. And he's coming off the bench for East Los Angeles College. He would be in
Everybody's
prison.
not gonna know.
Okay, this Joe bloke, he would be in prison except for the intervention of the coach.
Oh God, I know it's a state-run program. I don't speak out of line. But there is also that time when I feel led to share with somebody who's suffering. You need Jesus, that's what you need. I got you, dog. Lord, in the name of Jesus, help this man. Get him right, Lord, and take away this headache.
I don't mind, because, I mean, he's a preacher. He's going to preach, so.
Now, these guys are not really cut out for Talmud study, so Christianity is going to be the one thing that could possibly touch them. They either go Christian or they go to hell. Just like some really nasty people I knew in high school. There was this linebacker, Steve Pittman, just a nasty guy. And then I went away to Australia for a year. I came back, and he was like the sweetest, kindest, gentlest, nicest guy around because he'd become a born-again Christian. All right, Baked Alaska has spoken.
You have the craziest charges, and
Mine's the craziest. Yeah.
It doesn't even make sense because like you're not under the influence out there. You weren't. It's so crazy how much like
I know
how they're trying to do all this to you and so many other people who didn't do anything. Because I was talking about it earlier on the stream. There's some people who were there that day that it's understandable they're being pursued, but the vast majority it's totally not. Like you're included in that.
Even on the FBI affidavit on my case, like the FBI admits that I was telling people like don't break stuff, don't vandalize. Like it's written on there, So
yeah, I saw that.
It's like how are you supposed to be treating me the same as everyone else, including people that were breaking windows, graffitiing, on the Capitol doors and all? It's like I wasn't doing that shit. Obviously, I was doing the exact opposite. I was stopping people from damaging. There was nothing violent or anything that I did. For me, it was a peaceful protest that I was filming, that's it.
That's what I'm saying. And I've seen some clips, I've seen some videos of people who did do things that I personally think might have been a bit too far, and I understand them being pursued, but you're definitely not one of them. And so many other people I'm sure that have been listed aren't those people.
Well, like I don't even support this guy, but I don't believe he should be in jail. But like the Brandon Straka guy from Walk Away, he wasn't even in the Capitol, and they arrested him because he was like on the steps or he was like close by it or something. I'm like, dude, he didn't even go in, and you arrested him just because he's got like a big Twitter following or whatever. And, so they're definitely targeting, the influencers to make an example out of them. And it's just fucked up, man. It's like, it's crazy, like, listening to all this language, like, this was worse than 9/11, these insurrectionists. I'm like, dude, I wasn't trying to overthrow some government, you retards. Like, I was just fucking streaming content. Like, get over it.
Yeah,
it's so crazy, bro. What do you mean worse than 9/11? What are you talking about, bro?
Yeah, it's something else. And I know you've seen the ongoing things with, like, Nick and stuff. Nick was nowhere near the steps. He was nowhere near the doors.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they're going after him, too, playing his clips. Out of context, and that's him talking about the GOP. Like, it's ridiculous, dude. It's ridiculous.
It's a witch hunt. Like, this country really sucks. Like, sorry to say, but like, after I get all this, like, I'm also thinking like maybe I should just like move to Russia or something. Like maybe the USA is not the place for me because it's like I can't even speak my mind. I can't even disagree with the establishment, structure. I can't say funny things. There's no comedy. There's literally no comedy left in this country. So I don't know like what to do. I don't know what else I can do here. And I don't even like. I'm not even like the most edgy person, bro. Like I'm like Cowboy Cammy and Gypsy Crusader. Those guys are like 1,000 times edgier than me. Like I'm not even that. Like I don't hate anybody. I don't even do that shit. Like I love everyone, bro. I like to have a good time. I like to chill. I like to be funny. I like to troll. I like to like maybe piss some people off. Sometimes I think it's funny, but like it's all good fun. I don't like dislike anyone, And so it's just insane. Like the way they've treated me, like I'm some terrorist or something. It's just it's not right. And people that know me know that's not true. But if anything, people can learn from this. It's just like how evil these people are, how sinister and like corrupt the media is and our government, and you can even see it through like the GameStop stock thing. How corrupt our financial institution is. Like it's all corrupt, man. And like I just speak the truth. They hate that, and that's why they're coming after me.
Yeah, it is more than ridiculous. More than ridiculous. But now somebody said it, and I want to weigh in and say this too. Russia's not based either. I feel like there's plenty of places you could go. Russia's not based. You can't. If you did the same thing in Russia, they would. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure I agree though, because if you went to Russia, you just couldn't. You couldn't attack Putin because he's the president of Russia. But you could like I could probably say the stuff that I'm saying right now, and Russia wouldn't really care. I mean, you got to remember.
Yeah, that's true.
Telegram is owned by a Russian, and they're not shutting his app down. They're not taking it off the Apple Store or the Google Play Store, and that's owned by a Russian, and you can say whatever the fuck. Telegram is owned. That's like the #1 free speech app right now. So, got to remember that. So you actually can have free tech that doesn't get taken down. Also like as far as speaking out against LGBT stuff, that's like very openly done by Putin and by the Russian regime. So like they're very conservative as far as traditional marriage and things like that. That's and true. They do not honor U.S. extradition laws. So like say I went over there and then the FBI is like, oh, here's another thing you did on the stream. 10 years in prison.
Yeah.
Like they can't do shit. Russia will not honor, even if they're like. That's why Edward Snowden's there. That's why Julian Assange has been over there. So, yeah, I mean, maybe it's not the most based of them all. That's probably like Poland or something.
Yeah,
but, like,
it is Poland. That's what I was waiting to say. Poland is very big.
Yeah,
but you have a point.
Yeah,
you have a good
I think
point.
Russia's pretty good, and most countries in Europe, I think probably Poland included, I'm not sure, but most countries in Europe have U.S. extradition laws. So you literally, if you're there and you have a warrant or anything, they'll ship you back and throw you in jail straight up. Like they don't even fuck around with that shit. So the fact that Russia like doesn't do that is pretty based.
Yeah, that is entirely true, and especially with them going after you over this 2016 retweet. It's like anything's on the table.
Yeah,
anything's on the table.
That's why I'm saying, like, once I get off this stuff, I might literally just go to Russia for a bit. Like,
that's
cool.
I don't know. That's cool, but you have to knock out RV7 first. You gotta do it. You gotta do RV7.
RV7's gonna be in Russia, bro.
Oh man, well hopefully I'll have my passport by then because I'm down.
Maybe we'll do it in Canada and pick up Zobeezy.
Hey, Zobeezy would love that. Zobeezy would love it. Maybe I'll have my passport by then. We could. I'll be down.
If we did a Canada RV tour, I mean, we would never be allowed to go back.
Well,
ever.
It'd be worth it though. We can knock it out one time.
One and done.
Yeah.
Or we could go to Mexico. I don't know.
Mexico, I'll be down, but it seems a little more sketchy than Canada to me. But I'd be down. I mean, I'd be down. I'm not gonna lie. When me and Johnny and Dope went to Mexico, we like walked across. Me and Dope both. Just 2 blocks in, we were like, "Yo, we gotta get out of here."
Oh yeah, you walked to Mexico.
Yeah, we gotta get out of here, man, because it was scary.
It was sketchy.
Yeah, it was scary. We were scared. Dope might not admit it, but we both saw it in each other's eyes. We were like, "Yo, this is sketchy, and we might not want to be here." But it was also dark and right by the border. There's a whole lot going on right there specifically. So I'm sure there's nicer places.
Mm. Yeah. So why aren't you doing IRL? Because of your cases?
Well, no, but I ruined my own town with the one stream. Like there's like a university here, and I went to the bar that this all happened at was the hands down most liberal bar. Like my dad. He's messed with the bars. He says that's the gay bar, even though it's not, because it's the most liberal bar in town. And there's apparently just been gossip going around downtown, just like there was this racist guy down here streaming this and that. So it's like I kind of ruined it, and it could have been a great regular normal thing for me to do, but now it's not. So I feel like I need to let it cool down for a while. I was thinking maybe July 4th would be a good time to like creep back out there if I'm not doing something cooler on July 4th, like traveling or collaborating with somebody or something. Maybe you'll be free by July 4th, dude. Maybe everything will go good. I have high hopes.
Yeah.
I have high hopes that it's all political theater and that it'll all be over with by the time you go to court, and they'll be like, yeah, we don't give a fuck. We just needed to use you to fucking fuck Trump up, and we did what we could, and now we're done with it. We don't care. We literally never care. That's what I hope happens.
Yeah, I hope so, man. I mean, that's very optimistic.
Well, I understand.
But
we'll see.
Yeah, no, I'm really glad you answered because I was like, damn, I miss laws, man. It's been way too long.
I was a little nervous because I didn't know the rules, and I was like, oh shit, I'm streaming right now, and I have no idea if he even knows. So like,
yeah, I
muted it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all good. But yeah, bro, I just want to say what up. We can talk more later, but streaming.
All right, am I still here? Yes, I am. I want to talk more about this great documentary, Last Chance U.
Or just dropped.
Okay, Penny? What? Oh.
I was in some state or some city every other night, and I didn't see my family.
So the coach here at East LA Community College, he used to be a Division I assistant coach.
I don't want to not end my children's life.
Good line, rebound. Good job, bro. Good job, good job. That was a good boy.
You know, my family is just too important to be that guy. Stop.
So he's married with 3 kids.
Kicking me. I met my wife at a young age. You know, God gave me an amazing woman. Shonda double majored in East Asian languages or something. She lived in China.
Yeah, so his wife majored in East Asian languages. I remember there was this black guy in my Japanese program at UCLA. He was just smart, totally cool, no chip on his shoulder. And so this woman, fluent in Chinese, fluent in Spanish.
Fluent Mandarin. And then she lived in Spain, so she speaks Spanish. I was thinking, like, man, she sounds kind of like a nerd, you know?
We met freshman year of college. He was a handsome guy, seemed nice, you know. I said, okay, so we just talk on the phone a little bit.
I've been celibate, and I learned about marriage, and I had a desire, and I asked God, hey.
Yeah, he saved sex for marriage. Wow.
Lord, I want to be married, and, you know, I saw her worship, and I thought
And he was a basketball star. He played professional basketball. I mean, he could have had a lot, and he abstained.
She was sincere about her faith, and she was pretty, too. She was a pretty little dark thing, man. So it's just a pretty little chocolate thing. Then from there, it took off. Within, a year and a half of meeting each other, we were married. My college coach at the Master's College, he said, won't you come back and help coach? I ended up being there for 8 years. Cal State Bakersfield, I was there for 5 or 6 years.
So Master's College is a Christian college.
When I was a Division I coach, I wasn't going home every night. I mean, literally, I could be gone almost a week between games.
This coach is 46 years of age, so if he doesn't get out of community college in the next 4 years, his window is going to close, right? So normally, if you're a great athlete, it's okay to spend 1 year at community college. But if you spend 2 years, that's a little sus. And if this coach does not get a Division I head coaching job by the time he's 50, he'll probably never get it.
And the recruiting and the travel. You got homework, Leah?
Yeah, but I want her to read her book, Child Times. Even though the book report is due in a month, you need to get started now.
I saw the junior college route as a way where I can still be a part of competitive college basketball. And then
this guy's really impressive.
What's going to happen between now and tomorrow?
Last Chance U. So I'm only up through episode 5.
We begin the program today with the shocking news that basketball legend Kobe Bryant has died. Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter were among those killed in a helicopter crash this morning in Calabasas, California. The Los Angeles County Sheriff told reporters that 9 people were on the flight. None survived. Bryant played his entire NBA career with the Los Angeles Lakers, a career that spanned 26-18.
If you're a baller at all, then Kobe Bryant was part of your life. You ever felt like you lost something? The majority of these kids are from LA, and being Laker fans, they associate basketball like with Kobe.
It's 4 p.m., fellas. R.I.P. KB. I was like, bro, we ain't coming.
He's gonna be the only one here.
Yeah, I was like, bro, we ain't coming. You don't think, like, what would I do if Kobe passed away? Like, how would I feel? What would I say? Like, then it happens, then you realize, like, damn, I've been watching this dude since I was 2 years old. Like, damn, he was my first jersey. Like, damn, that's the first game we went to. Damn, like, he was basketball for, like, a lot of us. What you got for that, Coach? You got something for that?
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. The goal is actually heaven. It's not to stay here. So he's actually doing better than us. So for us to feel sorry for him, if we don't believe, I don't know.
Yeah, this was my father's attitude. So both this coach and my father were genuine Christians. Therefore, they understood that the next world was more important than this world. While for Jews, even Orthodox Jews, overwhelmingly Orthodox Jews consider this world more important than the next world.
He's believers. Yeah. That's where he's at. He's doing better than us.
Oh, yeah, he was a believer.
You know what? They ain't a better place. There's a level of peace, paradise, no suffering, no pain. So that's what I got, man. I mean.
Man, fuck that, man. He still wasn't supposed to die in a helicopter crash, bro. That's a little too much.
Yeah.
That's a little too much.
I guarantee you that he is stressed because they didn't practice yesterday. Stressed. Like, end of the world, stress. Every day you're off, he says it takes 2 to get back. Positive is that I'll be getting my steps in today with all these back and forth.
I just couldn't move.
Just shut it down.
Yeah. Literally in bed all day.
So the kid's having trouble dealing with Kobe's death.
That shit was on my mind the whole day, bro.
It's awful. First day back is always awful.
Here we go. Go. Nose to a chest. Quicker, Joe. Quicker. Point the ball. Sit down. Ready. Go. Hey, you weak today, man. Soft today. Okay, get down. You gotta get down a little bit lower. Here we go. Ready? Oh my God. No sloppy technique. Come on. We got 7 games. Come on, man. We're trying to get scholarships. Everybody listen up. You're over there talking and I'm trying to explain something, man. Both of y'all gonna want a scholarship in 2 months. Both of y'all. Okay? But I'm the villain for telling you to stop talking. Why are you covering up? Jogging, man. Why are you jogging? You heard what I want, and you over here jogging. Instead of being like, hey, ball, motion, let's go.
This coach is so intense. He's 46.
Intensity, come on.
Rebound, reactions. Yes, take the earrings off.
His athletes aren't particularly locked in.
It's important to take advantage of every opportunity, bro, because you never know when you're going to be called. You never know, dude. You never know. So, I mean, just let's do this, man. We got a chance to do it. Let's do it, man. We got a month left.
That's the assistant coach who is in a wheelchair. I presume he was shot because this is East LA.
A month that can change the rest of your life. Just think about that. What you do for this next month or so gonna change the rest of your life. The rest of your life.
A couple weeks. Work on your habits. Lord, we just thank you for this opportunity, oh God. We thank you again The position you put us in, oh God, we pray that we be good stewards of this position, oh God. We got a good group of guys. We thank you for the commitment, Lord. In your son Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Hey, don't give them no air, man. This is us right here. Ain't nobody working harder than we working, doing what we doing. Everybody taking their time, coming on the weekends, working hard, all that. Those habits. They're waiting the last minute to study. They're waiting the last.
No problem. We'll take a win, but I almost feel like we lost.
The kids, they have those habits. They're waiting the last minute to study. They're waiting the last minute to, oh, the team is good? Okay, now let's perform.
Everybody partner up. It's the challenges of a coach, man.
You have to tolerate a lot.
Just partner up real quick.
I'll just get the work in and let's go.
We've done this before.
Come on, hurry up, hurry up.
Man, come on so we can go.
Come on, bro. Come on,
Come on, bro. And go.
You have to tolerate people. You live with them every day. Sometimes I want to just really just rip.
Huh? All the beads of sweat, the veins popping. The veins popping. Oh, yeah. They got the neck vein already.
You know what? You want me to tell you my concern? You want me to tell you my concern?
Please do.
My concern is making sure we get you where you're supposed to be. That's my concern. Tonight.
I mean, this is so powerful. I mean, his concern is that he helps these kids and that they get to the limits of their potential, but they're frequently lazy, they have bad attitudes, they won't study, they get into trouble with the law. And this 46-year-old coach who's married, he's got 3 kids, but he's doing everything he can to help these kids who often don't have fathers, sometimes don't have fathers or mothers. He's doing his best for them. He seems to care far more about their welfare and their future than they do.
I could have been the moment. I don't know. He said, I'm coming to watch LJ.
Right. So a Division I coach came to watch LJ, and LJ wasn't really putting forward much effort tonight. So his whole future may have been on the line in this game. But LJ didn't realize that a Division I coach was in the stands and just couldn't be bothered to put a lot of effort in.
And until I told you, you didn't turn it up. I'm concerned that we got to get 11 guys scholarships. I'm concerned. You want me to chill and be happy and not hold people accountable? Is that what you want? If you're not prepared for that moment where that high major coach is there, that scholarship that you wanted, he's there. I've had it happen, right, Coach? Hey, man, so-and-so here to see him, and he ain't ready, and my heart is burdened with that. That's all. Coach gonna make us do some extra. We gotta come in here and live. We gotta practice on Saturday. Because all I'm trying to do, all I want is for you to get what you came to get. Ain't nobody trying to be Coach Mosley crazy. Hell, I missed my son's game tonight. How you think that make me feel? How did I feel? I don't want to miss my son's game. Miss my daughter.
And Gandhi, I think, was asked, what did he think about Christians? And Gandhi said, I've never met one. Well, this coach, he's the real deal. He's a genuine Christian.
Softball game and missing, because I'm here committed to you. You mad at me for asking for extra. You mad at me. Dang, we got to do what? You mad at me? And my son, I'm freaking missing his game. You mad at me for committing to you. And not my son? Not my daughter? You mad at me for having you extra? And not my wife? When are you coming home? I'm doing weights right now. I'm trying to get him a scholarship. I can tell you some guys who just forget these fools. This fool want to roll his eyes at me. Hey, team on 3, practice over. I'm good, right? Practice over. Oh, y'all don't want to? I'm out. And then you left dry. Nobody caring. You don't go to school or nothing. Don't nobody care? Anybody see an administrator? Don't nobody care. But us. Don't nobody care if you go to school or not. They don't care. We care. I'm in. You got to invest back. If you do it, 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 who the hell can beat us? And then everybody eats. You think you know? You ain't been there, you don't know. Because if you knew, you would be on a scholarship right now. And y'all got 3 kids and a wife and bills to pay. You got to teach class 8 in the morning, and I'm here every day with energy, ready to go. But I'm the crazy one.
Yeah. So this guy has a wife. He's got 3 kids. He teaches 18 units. So he's teaching 18 hours a week in the classroom. So he's a full-time professor, and he's the basketball coach.
Crazy one. And you need the scholarship. Come on, man. Here we go. Family, let's go. See y'all tomorrow.
Family on me. Family on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Family.
So I'm a big fan. This is the most influential sports reality show of the past decade, Last Chance U. And if you're into realism, you'll love the show. Michael Shermer has a great comment on the British royal family alleged racism controversy. He notes the burden of proof is on the accuser of racism. How can one prove one is not racist beyond denial? So Harry and Meghan refused to provide any evidence whatsoever. And as Christopher Hitchens noted, what can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. And can you be ever too smart for your own good? Despite a long-standing expert consensus about the importance of cognitive ability for life outcomes, contrary views continue to proliferate in scholarly and popular literature. This divergence of beliefs presents an obstacle for evidence-based policymaking and decision-making in a variety of settings. One commonly held idea, and this is just part of the nonsense that Malcolm Gladwell spews. So if you listen to Malcolm Gladwell, read Malcolm Gladwell, you'll be dumber after the experience than before it. So Gladwell holds that greater cognitive ability does not matter, is even harmful beyond a certain point, maybe over 120 IQ points, according to Gladwell. This is just nonsense, right? There's no level of smarts where it doesn't have positive outcomes, where it doesn't correlate between youth and correlate with life outcomes in occupation, education, health, social outcomes. Smarter people live longer, are more successful, are more stable, are more law-abiding, make more money, contribute more, develop more inventions. There's just a significant effect at every level of intelligence. There are no downsides to higher intelligence. None. There's no threshold beyond which more intelligence is not beneficial. Greater cognitive ability is generally advantageous. It's never detrimental, statistically speaking. You can come up with, oh, I knew Chaim. Chaim was a genius. He has a PhD in mathematics, but he exposed himself to a little girl in a park. All right, you can come up with anecdotes. Statistically speaking, there are no levels of intelligence above which it doesn't matter. There are no downsides, statistically speaking, to have greater cognitive ability. A couple of good articles in the Wall Street Journal. And you probably know Philippe Lemon on Twitter. He writes, after a year of observation and data collection, the case for lockdowns has grown much weaker. The headline for the story is, the lockdowns weren't worth it. Nobody denies overwhelmed hospitals are bad, but so is depriving people of a normal life, including kids who can't attend school or socialize during precious years of their lives. Since everyone hasn't been vaccinated, many wouldn't yet be living normally, even without restrictions. Government mandates make things worse by taking away people's ability to socialize and make a living. The coronavirus lockdowns constitute the most extensive attacks on individual freedom in the West since World War II. Yet not a single government has published a cost-benefit analysis to justify lockdown policies, something policymakers are often required to do while making far less consequential decisions. My arguments are wrong. Lockdown policies are cost-effective. A government document should be able to demonstrate that. No government has produced such a document. Now, why have no governments done a cost-benefit analysis? Because they would clearly show that these lockdown policies have been a disaster. Germany, Ireland, United Kingdom are still in lockdown. France is 2 months into a 6 p.m. curfew, which the French government says will last another month. In many United States, U.S. states, in-person schooling is still rare. Now, a year ago, when people had no idea how difficult it would be to control the virus, it might have been reasonable to make a case for lockdown. But we've learned the virus never spreads exponentially for very long, even without stringent restrictions. Lockdowns don't seem to make much difference for transmission of COVID. The epidemic always recedes well before herd immunity. People get scared and they change their behavior as hospitalizations and deaths increase. This in turn reduces transmission. And Philippe Lemon says he looked at more than 100 regions and countries. None have seen exponential growth of the pandemic continue until herd immunity was reached. Regardless of whether a government lockdown or other stringent measures was imposed, people eventually revert to more relaxed behavior. When they do, the virus starts spreading again. Sweden was the first to learn this lesson. Sweden was initially held up as a disaster by the pro-lockdown crowd. Sweden has ended up with a per capita death rate indistinguishable from that of the European Union. Florida did not lock down, has a per capita death rate indistinguishable from California. It's actually better than California. In the United States, Georgia's hands-off policies were called an experiment in human sacrifice by The Atlantic. But like Sweden, Georgia today has a per capita death rate that is effectively the same as the rest of the country. Now, if Sweden had adopted a more stringent lockdown policy, the epidemic may well have started receding a little bit earlier, and transmission may have fallen off a little bit faster. Lockdowns can destroy the economy, they can destroy lives, but they apparently have minimal effect on the spread of COVID. So, a couple of good articles on COVID in the Wall Street Journal. Also noting that the government bodies should come out and say, hey, if people are vaccinated within a month of getting vaccinated, they should be allowed to get out there and start living. Okay, let's get a little bit here from Dennis Prager.
Yes, go on.
Now, I admit my first choice. Member of a couple, have people been in touch with you during this lockdown time?
Yes. And the honeydew list, I know there's jokes about the honeydew list, and it's really worth looking at. And the thing I would start with, because I'm waiting for the music to write any moment, is that because of the effects of estrogen and testosterone on the configuration of the brain, and we've talked about this before about diffuse awareness versus single focus, the testosterone brain is just interested in doing big things, big accomplishments, big impact, big difference. Give me a big thing to do. I do not want to hunt 100 little bunny rabbits. Give me the woolly mammoth, right? And that's natural and normal. And diffuse awareness, right, spreads in every direction, causes all these little things to make us aware of them, make women aware of them. And what's interesting is every little thing we do actually brings gratification. So it doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to add up to a big thing. Every little thing.
I can't tell you how brilliant I think that is. This is why I have her on regularly. That is huge, lockdown or not lockdown. Men and women ideally are complementary. Ideally. It's a very complex mechanism, the male-female union. But when that works out, what she describes makes the world function. 1-8-PRAGER-776, questions about you and your significant others for Alison Armstrong.
I am the luckiest.
Hi there, everybody. Dennis Prager. After all these years, I have learned that if I actually move that switch, more people hear me. Do you realize the difference between this 1 inch? It's a big inch, yeah. Either I'm talking to 2 people or 1 million people, or 2 million people. We don't know, actually. Well, who knows? It's an important inch, as they say. Well, they don't say that. I made that up. I am with the inimitable, not inscrutable, but which is to her credit, by the way. She is inimitable. The only guest I have regularly, Alison Armstrong. So I'm sure a lot of people are curious. How do they get your Understanding Men series? You said that you're offering it? Of insight?
As in God-given, yes.
Nature-given, God-given, that you have an exceptional gift. Say that you do. You have it. It's a gift. You have a gift of an original mouse, and you're not doing any of them. The honey-do, as you pointed out. Honey, do this. Yeah. Gotcha. It's a cute list, the honey-do list. Okay. But men, we men, and she's right, I admit it, we men, the masculine, if you will, is or if you, well, your way, the testosterone-driven of the two sexes is built to do big things. Mm-hmm. And so it's not better and it isn't worse. It just is. Without details, the world falls apart. Without big things, the world falls apart. So we need the masculine and the feminine. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say we need single focus and we need diffuse awareness. They're excellent complements to each other.
Okay, great. All right.
Then you don't try to change the other person.
Right. All right. So, by the way, that is part of the reason that men commit more suicide. When men feel that they can't do something big. Big doesn't mean that you get to be president of the United States, folks. I want to make that clear. But it is also different from taking the garbage out which is as important as anything, because if the garbage isn't taken out, the house becomes rat infested. So it's clearly the issue isn't significance; it's direction. Okay, you mentioned 2 other arenas of possible friction at this time. Go ahead.
Yes. And I realized it's a fourth when we were on break. So the other one I mentioned is the difference between facts and feelings, and the difference in how men and women experience safety, and in this situation, what do we need to protect ourselves from?
All right, let's do facts and feelings.
Okay. So one of the things that a lot of people don't just understand, that's very much at play all the time, but especially now, is that all information is not a fact. A fact is information that comes from a trusted source. So this is something that men say all the time: consider the source, consider the source, consider the source. And so a big problem that we're having now is we have different trusted sources. And usually our trusted sources are a member of our tribe. So one of the most primitive sets of instincts we have, right? Tribalism, very much at play. And if you have within the same household people who are debating facts, they're going to keep being disconnects, and upset and anger and frustration. And every time there's a disconnect, a woman gets more scared. So I've been teaching women to instead to listen to learn. That if you're listening to your husband or the father of your children from the point of view, okay, there's what he's saying, what matters to him, what does he care about, what's important to him. So listening for his core values, if you want to say that, the heart of who he is. If we're listening for what's important to you, we end up connecting. Oh, that's why I married him. It's not about, are we debating, is this good or that good? What he's focused on is protecting our family. He's focused on taking care of our future. He's focused on making sure we come out the other side of this as better off as we can be. That's what he's doing. Oh, I love him for that. Yeah, if we're trying to get him to make us feel better, right, he's going to try to make us feel better with information. And information rarely makes women feel better.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. So what makes women feel better if not information?
Well, it's interesting you brought up suicide, because it's like men will commit suicide when they think people are better off without them. Women will commit suicide when they feel unseen. And what makes women feel safe is they feel seen, they feel understood. So if you listen to me tell you how I feel about this, and you don't try to talk me out of feeling that way, you're like, I really get it, honey. Come here. Do you want a hug? Now I'll feel safe. I'll feel better. You saw me.
So that's when we have the montage that opens the male-female hour. When with who is the woman? Is it Elizabeth Hurley? Who is the woman, Alan, who says men want to fix things? We'll call the bloke on the Essex Road.
Yeah, I know the actress, but her name was.
I think it is Elizabeth. No,
crack up after
I know exactly.
Laugh at that montage.
Because it's so accurate. It's a brilliant choice. Got to find out who chose those things. I'm sorry. Female hour every Wednesday, even cause conflict, but also can cause harmony. But that are generalizing. Obviously, it's not true for every male and every female, but for most. What she is talking about. So the information versus feelings issue is one, or it's two. That was the second of the three that we're talking about. And the big things and the little things was the first one. Everything you say resonates with me. I just, as a male, and I get it, and it makes sense. And so this was information and feelings. All right, and the other one, the third one, or the one you listed first is?
Well, it has to do with what occurs as a threat or not. So our experience of safety. And it's central to understanding women that we have a constant, you could call it a macro program running all the time. Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? And it is primarily a physical concern for safety that men can't relate to at all. I mean, it's like a man said, oh yeah, I was visiting my grandmother, I was early, I was tired, I pulled up at a convenience store, rolled down the window and took a nap. Unthinkable to a woman to do that. we can't even fall asleep any place in our own house. We have to go to a particular place to fall asleep. And the guardedness, the fear for our physical safety, which comes from being so much weaker than men than you guys know. I mean, we do an exercise at the beginning of Understanding Women to have men find out how weak women are. And the reaction, it cracks me up, but it makes most of them cry. And so in what's been happening with the coronavirus, one of the little things that women have been, you could say, obsessed with or really concerned over is physical safety and not getting the virus and disinfecting and, the antibacterial and the masks, and that the threat occurs as a physical one. And to men, I have yet to meet a man, even men who are in the highest at-risk multiple factor categories, I've yet to meet one who was concerned about that. The men are concerned about protecting our futures, protecting our financial well-being, protecting our ability to take care of ourselves and at every nation, at every level, whether it's family or community or nation or world, it's the men are in protect mode, and it's not protect from a physical virus and physical symptoms. It's protect from everything else that's gone with it.
God, are you intelligent? Oh, do I resonate with that? And do you know, you don't even, you have three choices here. You can agree, you can stay silent, which is perfectly legit. But the country's preoccupation, the country with safety, is the feminization of the culture.
I just wouldn't use the word feminine because feminine is honestly so powerful and cool and amazing and transformative. But it is, honestly, I think it's just, okay, I normally don't do political with you. I think women love the drama of it. It's so exciting, this thing. I mean, so many people are going to hate to see it end because it's so dramatic and interesting, and it's taken us out of our boring, normal lives. That sounds terrible, but that's what I've observed, a lot of dramatizing. So for me to have had the virus, get over it in 3 days, enjoyed spending 4 weeks at home, I mean, where's the excitement in that?
Right, but I think that this may not fully apply to you. I think you have a great combination of the feminine and masculine in your mind. We'll be back in a moment. Take your calls, 1-8-PRAGER-77.
I think that was a great point, that women love the drama of COVID. They do. Many women are just having the times of their lives during the past year. I mean, it's just incredibly exciting for them. All right, Wall Street Journal here. Op-ed, COVID prescription, get the vaccine, wait a month, return to normal. The CDC claims to be following the science, but its advice suggests it is still paralyzed by fear. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has lost a lot of credibility during the COVID-19 pandemic by being late or wrong on testing, on masks, on vaccine allocation, and school reopening. Staying consistent with that pattern of being consistently wrong, 3 months after the vaccine rollout began, the CDC finally started telling vaccinated people this week that they can have normal interactions with other vaccinated people. Doesn't that sound exciting? But only in highly limited circumstances. Given the impressive effectiveness of the vaccine, that should have been immediately obvious. Parts of the new guidelines are absurdly restrictive. For example, the CDC has not withdrawn its advice to avoid air travel after vaccination. So we've had a year of pre-vaccine experience, which demonstrates that airplanes are not a source of spread of COVID. So commercial airplanes have air filtration that exceeds the standards of a hospital operating room. Now, the guidelines do approve vaccinated people meeting with low-risk unvaccinated people, but only for people with the same household and in a small private setting, so much for restaurants, birthday parties, and weddings. So an unpublished study conducted by Israel and Pfizer shows that vaccination reduces COVID transmission by about 90%, almost totally prevents hospitalization and death. Immunity kicks in fully about 4 weeks after the first vaccine dose, then you are essentially bulletproof. So it's time to liberate vaccinated people, to restore their relationships and allow them to rebuild their lives. Okay, so before I was a streamer, I had to go to school to learn how to do this. And my school was just far, far rougher than this one. I mean, these girls in China just had it easier compared to what I went through. Boy, my live streaming show. I mean, this is what I have to go through before I do a stream. I was in a factory just like this, but my factory was in Malaysia. I was in a live streaming factory. Yeah, they taught me to do these dances. Where do you think I learned to sing like I sing? And those gestures, those elegant gestures. Yeah. This was my life prior to getting on YouTube. I had to get all educated about the mechanics of live streaming.
比拥抱都没有不可以超过了友情。
金盒就是因为现在我们越发的想把金盒做成那种一线的大主播，然后所以说我们现在对金盒要求比较严。
And I had to go around singing on the streets to learn how to live stream.
收拾直播，准备化妆，把今天晚上的歌单准备好，然后今天晚上我把那个圣诞节的方案给了你，好吧？
晚上直播完可以看一下。
We can go after that plan. I need to buy the things I need in advance.
江浙沪发货的就还好，
Nowadays they
比
ship
较快。
things really fast, so she's talking to her live streaming coach, but first she has to just sleep for a moment. This was what it was like.
他是我们800
When
块
she
钱
first
底
came
薪
to us,
招
she
的
was
一
on
个
our
主
minimum
播。
salary of 120 a month. She's going to live stream from Mr. Honey. You really are such a great guy. Our company's income comes from receiving a share of all our live streamers' revenue.
对，票票，谢谢。
Thank you for the gift, Mr. Piao. Yes, give it a that goes on. You think I just rock up to this show? Like, you think I normally look like this? You don't think this is a product of great lighting?
好累，是吗？
Every time. You'll be this tired every day. Yeah, that's what it was like when I was in live streaming school in Malaysia. I mean, this is far nicer than what I went through, believe me.
目前我们公司大约有200多名主播。那我们现在的流程是，新主播可能先到公司培训1-2个月，可能有的时间长。等到他出行定个出行之后，他们就可以拿着设备回家直播。
Go big or go home. Believe me.
那金河刚开始直播的时候，他经常会穿一些短裤什么的，就很性感。但是你会发现，当你是一个性感的人设走向的时候，你吸引来的粉丝，他会相对的质量没有那么高。所以我们现在基本上要求金河的服装，就是在服装跟背景上都是偏文艺一点。
I just didn't go for the low common denominator. That's the whole reason we just put this bookshelf behind you. That's why I talk about books to give a more cultured vibe. That's why I put all the books there.
每次看到我们这个
But these books are empty. The books I talk. See, in China, the books are fake. Fans are always asking about all these books. They say, wow, Jinhee has read so many foreign books. It's all fake books. But 40 doesn't read fake books, mate. I'm now only $10,000 away from being a 7th level fan. I've already given Jinhee about $75,000. Almost a 7th level fan. Wow! Unbelievable. What ecstasy. I mean, that's the bridge to total freedom, being a 7th level fan. I mean, life just doesn't get any better than being a 7th level fan. Man, I mean, I don't have any fans that are even beyond the 2nd level. Guys, once you reach like 3rd level 40 fandom, I mean, it's just incredible. That's when I start playing the didgeridoo in tune. You think I just started playing the didgeridoo without any training? Originally it was to make you a singer, but the new plan is focusing more on becoming a big live streamer. Nowadays, live streamers are more profitable than all but the biggest traditional celebrities. I'm just following the money. I'm okay with it. No matter if I'm a live streamer or a real celebrity, as long as I can still make music. That's my attitude too. As long as I can still make music, share my didgeridoo with you fine blokes and Sheilas. Yeah, I'm looking for an intern to hold the key light when I'm doing my stroll streams. Yeah, I need to do more walking around singing streams. Going into kosher restaurants and just sing some Australian folk songs. Yeah, there are many opportunities for filming in cafeterias. I don't just walk down the street singing a song. Need to go into the kosher eateries. It's really awkward. You got to overcome that. I want to do something interesting. I don't want to do all this nonsense on a campus. Yeah, I feel you, girl. Welcome, everyone. It's such a cold night. I'm really so cold. You think this is just all, lollipops and Talmudic tract
真的
dates.
粉丝礼物也是不少
He
钱
spent。so much money sending gifts to fans.
然后马上又要圣诞
It's
节，
about to be Christmas too. Is Christmas huge in China? Maybe I need to start sending gifts to my fans. Like set up levels of fandom. Like 7th level is the bridge to total freedom. This is not as intimate as real life relationships. You really matter so much to me. I truly care about
一天
you.
24小时可能说睡觉
Users
的
are
几小时，
sending you
都有
messages
人不停
24
地给你
hours a
发
day.
消息，然后他
They
们
all
其实是
really
关
do
心
care
你，
about
他们
you.
也不知道
Well,
有这么多人会
But
同
they
时给
don't
你
know
发
just
消
how
息。
many others there are. Well, I doubt that some of you
我觉
truly
得就
care about
是虚
me.
拟的这样一个
I do
空间
think
的
that
关系
virtual
可以代替
relationships
像现
can
在朋友之
replace
间这样
real
的
life
相处。
relationships. Not a good idea.
首先你会感到温
It
暖，
makes me feel warm. Do I
是
make
很
you
相
feel
互的
warm?
一些感情
I
的一
think
些
the
发展
emotions are mutual.
会代替。
It can replace other relationships. Are we having mutual emotions right now? I'm feeling so close to you. I just feel like you're looking me right in the eye. I'm looking you in the eye. It's just magical. Well, what we're creating here is magical and mutual. You feel the mutuality? This is just so incredibly mutual. And you think this is natural? No, I had to go to live streaming school. It was a factory. They were just cranking them out by the dozens. I mean, it cost me the words terms of service. I don't know the meaning of the word don't. Bloody hell, she got off easy. Boy, she should have seen my live streaming instructors. Think they'd let you get away with this kind of subpar performance? Come on, man. Come on, man. This is it's not okay.
To our communities and to our country. This is the United States of America.
Oh,
and there's
thank
nothing,
you.
nothing, from the bottom of my heart, I believe this, there's nothing we can't do when we do it together.
Yes.
So God bless you all.
Yes.
And please, God, give solace to all those people who lost someone.
Yes.
And may God protect our troops. Thank you for
Amen.
taking the time to listen.
Thank you.
I look forward
Thank
to seeing you.
Thank you.
Joe Biden, in his first live address to the country of his presidency, a very strange address, surreal at points, like the Biden presidency itself, felt a little bit like a dream sequence. The first part of the president's address described the sadness of the last year. People shut out from hospitals as their loved ones died alone, people losing hope, people losing their own businesses, children not being able to go to school. A whole generation, the president said, of children stunted by school closures. No sense at all of how any of this happened or who backed it, but they're the president showing great empathy. His plan consisting essentially of vaccines and more vaccines. By May, he said, there'll be enough vaccines for every person in America. The military will give you that shot. And if you take that shot, things potentially could get back to normal. No mention at all of the people who might not want to take that shot. But the president said, if you take that shot and wear your mask and listen to Dr. Fauci, it is possible, not assured, but possible, that you might be able to gather in small groups with the ones you love for the 4th of July. We might have to rescind that right, but it's possible if you're obedient, you'll get it. Who are you talking to? This is a free people. This is a free country. How dare you tell us who we can spend the 4th of July with? Alex Berenson is a best-selling author. He joins us now with reaction, a more restrained reaction to the president's address. So, Alex, I was struck by the substance of his response to COVID, the administration's response to COVID, really is the vaccine itself. What do you make of that as a response?
Well, Tucker, it's interesting. You said surreal. The word that came to my mind was bizarro. It was a bizarro speech. In this bizarro world, we were all still desperately afraid of the coronavirus, where cases haven't fallen 90% since January and hospitalization 70%, where we know exactly who's at risk from this and how most of us are at very, very low to no risk from this. The world Joe Biden inhabits, and I guess the world a lot of his constituency inhabits, is not the world that I inhabit, where my kids have seen my mother for the last year, where I get together with friends if I like, where I went to Florida, and I know many, many Americans live this way.
Oh gosh, I got to disavow this. I mean, that sounds dangerous. So one of the key things that I've learned to do before every show, I ask myself Uta Hagen's 9 questions every actor should ask themselves. Who am I? Who is my character? What time is it? What is the year, the season, the day, the minute? Where am I? What surrounds me? Love surrounds me. What are the given circumstances? What are my relationships? What do I want? And what's in my way? So these are the 9 questions I always ask myself before I come on a live stream. You think I just rock up here, no preparation, just hope that the chat throws me some links and play other people's work and read other people's work? You think that's like a typical 40 live stream?
Conversation.
You can use Uta Hagen's 9 questions in all of these settings. You can use them anytime you have to speak your truth in a crucial situation. Yes, they lead to nuanced, motivated characters, but they can also lead to clarity and focus for important seminars, meetings, teaching, or asking your boss for a raise. You can even use them to convince your spouse to go along with some harebrained idea. I know, I've tried it. Even though you're not in a dialogue, even if it's just you speaking to an audience, you can still use the 9 questions, because if you're speaking to one person or 1,000, you still have a partner. You still have a relationship. You still have a purpose. How you go about pursuing your purpose depends on who you're talking to and how they respond to you, whether it's one person or a whole stadium of people.
This is what I go through before I do a show.
So we looked at how we use the 9
phone.
questions within a dramatic one-on-one framework where our context was given by the playwright. But what about public speaking? How can we use them there? Well, here's a great illustration. Let's take Barbara Bush's commencement speech to the graduating class at Wellesley College in 1990. It's famous because Mrs. Bush had a very difficult task to accomplish. I'll use third person here since this is relatively recent history. So, who was Barbara Bush? Well, we know she was the wife of George Herbert Walker Bush, the 41st President of the United States. She was born in New York City in 1925.
Okay, this is a Great Courses production, Mastering Stage Presence, How to Present to Any Audience. You think I just rock up here without asking Uta Hagen's 9 questions? You think I just don't worry about the lighting? That just no consideration for my presentation? You think zero thought goes into my clothing or how I do my hair? I mean, come on, man. The great ones like myself, we make it look easy. We make it look natural. But you've always got to ask the 9 questions, whether it's the 9 questions people ask about Judaism or the 9 questions that every actor should ask himself.
And her dad ran McCall's publishing company. So Barbara Bush had had a privileged upbringing, which included boarding school. In 1941, on a Christmas break, she met George Bush at a dance. She went on to Smith College, but she dropped out in 1943 to marry George Bush before the war. What time was it for Barbara Bush? Now, here's where it starts getting fun. It's 1990. Barbara Bush is 65. She supported her husband through his whole career as a U.S. representative, an ambassador, the chairman of the Republican Committee, the head of the CIA, and finally the vice presidency and then the presidency. She's raised 6 kids and now devotes her life to her duties as First Lady and to the cause of literacy.
So I remember 1990, this speech got a lot of applause.
Thank you very, very much, President Cohen. Mrs. Gorbachev, trustees, faculty, parents, and I should say Julia Porter, class president, and certainly my new best friend, Christine Bicknell. And of course, the class of 1990. I'm really thrilled to be here today, and very excited, as I know all of you must be, that Mrs. Gorbachev could join us. These are exciting times. They're exciting in Washington, and I had really looked forward to coming to Wellesley. I thought it was going to be fun. I never dreamt it would be this much fun, so thank you for that. More than 10 years ago, when I was invited here to talk about our experiences in the People's Republic of China, I was struck by both the natural beauty of your campus and the spirit of this place. Wellesley, you see, is not just a place, but an idea, an experiment in excellence in which diversity is not just tolerated, but is embraced.
Yay! So this was delivered June 1, 1990. And how does she knock it out of the park?
Now for the broader context. 8 years earlier, the Equal Rights Amendment had failed to be ratified, despite the fact that Congress had passed it in 1972. But the roles of women at home and in the workplace were changing. Throughout the 80s, we had movies like, you probably remember some of these, Tootsie and Mr. Mom and Baby Boom, and young women were being told that they could have it all, a high-powered career, a marriage, and a family. They didn't have to choose. Doors were opening. After years of struggle, women are feeling a lot of pressure to achieve in the workplace. Where was Barbara Bush? She'd come to give this commencement address at Wellesley College, a top women's school just outside of Boston, not unlike the school she dropped out of. Boston is a hub, as you probably know, of higher education.
So this is a course, one of the great courses. You can also buy it on Audible for like $10. Mastering Stage Presence, How to Present to Any Audience. This is the lecture on analyzing backstory and motivation. Before I rock up here, I'm asking myself Uta Hagen's 9 questions. I'm analyzing my backstory, my character's backstory. What else am I doing? Oh, and I'm also getting in touch with my motivation.
It boasts over 50, I think, public and private universities. Harvard, Brandeis, MIT, Emerson, just to name a few. So Barbara Bush is in a place and time where people value career and drive and accomplishment. What surrounded Barbara Bush? Barbara Bush was surrounded by an audience of young, ambitious female Wellesley graduates and their families.
And what surrounds me right now? I am basking in your love. Love is all around us, guys.
She's on a stage, she's behind a podium, and behind her sit about 20 college administrators and faculty, and behind them are the flags of many different nations. Barbara Bush was also surrounded by television cameras and microphones from all the major radio and TV networks. Because you see, the selection of Barbara Bush to speak at Wellesley had caused a national debate. The eyes of the nation were upon her. Her speech was live across the country. What are Barbara Bush's given circumstances? Well, here's what Barbara Bush knew. She knew that she was Wellesley's second choice for commencement speaker. Alice Walker, the author of The Color Purple, had been asked first, but she'd canceled.
Right, so I know there are a whole bunch of other live streamers you'd rather be watching right now, but they all got put in jail, so here we are.
The First Lady also knew that 25% of Wellesley's class of 1990 had signed a petition saying they were outraged that she'd been selected to speak. They'd said Mrs. Bush wasn't a suitable role model for career-oriented young women. After all, they argued, she didn't stand on her own merit. She'd only been asked because she was the wife of a president.
Yeah, she wasn't a strong, independent woman like Hillary Clinton.
The essence of this spirit was captured in a moving speech about tolerance given last year by a student body president of one of your sister colleges. She related the story by Robert Fulgham about a young pastor finding himself in charge of some very energetic children, hits upon the game called Giants, Wizards, and Dwarfs. You have to decide now, the pastor instructed the children, which you are, a giant, a wizard, or a dwarf. At that, a small girl, tugging at his pants leg, asks, "But where do the mermaids stand?" And the pastor tells her there are no mermaids. And she says, "Oh, yes, there are. They are. I am a mermaid." Now, this little girl knew what she was, and she was not about to give up on either her identity or the game. She intended to take her place wherever mermaids fit into the scheme of things. Where do the mermaids stand? All of those who are different, those who do not fit the boxes and the pigeonholes. Answer that question, wrote Fulgham, and you can build a school, a nation, or a whole world.
Remember Robert Fulgham? He had one-hit book. Everything I needed to learn, I learned in kindergarten. And he built a little bit of a career off that one book, but he could never recapture that success. So he was a one-hit wonder. But he was a big deal in 1990.
Barbara Bush also knew, as did the whole country, that this petition had sparked a national debate on how women ought to define themselves. And in spite of the controversy surrounding her selection, Mrs. Bush had chosen to honor her commitment and go on and speak to the graduates of Wellesley. What were Barbara Bush's relationships? Here's what Barbara Bush knew about her partners, the 600 or so young women who were about to leave Wellesley and embark on their careers. They were ambitious. They'd had a top-notch education from an elite school. They were groomed for professional success. They'd also come of age during a very different era than the one Barbara Bush lived in, when she dropped out of Smith College to marry George Bush in 1945. Barbara Bush also knew that 75% of the Wellesley graduating class of 1990 had not signed the petition asking that the invitation to speak be revoked. What did Barbara Bush want? Well, first, let's talk about what Barbara Bush didn't want. She didn't want to continue the controversy. She wasn't there to shake her finger at those young women. She wasn't there to prove she was right or defend her choices. Barbara Bush wanted to connect with and honor those women, whether they thought she was a good role model or not.
Right. I'm not here to create controversy, guys. I'm here to connect, whether you think I'm a good role model or not.
What was in Barbara Bush's way? Barbara Bush faced some formidable obstacles. There was a significant subgroup of her audience, her partner, who didn't feel she was worthy. She also faced a media storm that...
See, I didn't just do this show on my own. I mean, sometimes I look back on my live streams and all I see are, you know, my commentary. And I'm wondering, like, where were you? Where was my audience? And I just don't see anything but one pair of feet in the sand, footprints in the sand. And then I realized that was when you were carrying me. Those were the days when I rock up here, I don't really have anything to say, but you were carrying me, right? I don't do this alone. We're surrounded by love.
That had maybe blown this whole thing a bit out of proportion. What did Barbara Bush do to get what she wanted? Barbara Bush disarmed them. She joked. She reminded the audience that this was the second time she'd been invited to speak at Wellesley, and that the first was when she came to talk about her experiences in China. She flattered them by talking about Wellesley's spirit of excellence, their tolerance for diversity.
Yeah, I mean, you're the best audience. I mean, believe me, you guys are just the greatest Americans.
As that very wise young woman said, diversity, like anything worth having, requires effort. Effort to learn about and respect difference, to be compassionate with one another, to cherish our own identity, and to accept unconditionally the same in others. You should all be very proud that this is the Wellesley spirit. Now, I know your first choice today was Alice Walker. Guess how I know.
There's a speaker connecting with her
Known
audience.
for the color purple. Instead, you got me, known for the color of my hair. Alice Walker's book has a special resonance here. At Wellesley, each class is known by a special color. For 4 years, the class of '90 has worn the color purple. Today, you meet on Severance Green to say goodbye to all of that. To begin,
I need to like start handing out sashes to people depending on the size of their super chat, so that you can just like climb to higher and higher levels of sashes.
And she deflected the focus from herself by borrowing a story from Robert Fulgham about a little girl who'd held on to her identity as a mermaid, even when mermaids weren't part of the game she was playing. She acknowledged the controversy head on with a joke about the media storm around her speech. She recognized that the students had wanted Walker, who she said was known for the color purple, and instead got her, known for the color of her hair. This drew a big, warm laugh from the class of 1990 and their families.
So this is Professor Melanie Long, and she teaches stage presence.
Then Mrs. Bush spoke frankly. She spoke about the challenges that women face, balancing their career with the personal connections of friends and family. She counseled these women to make their human connections a priority in their lives. She referenced a line from Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which was also popular during that time. Life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you're going to miss it. Barbara Bush ended her speech by suggesting that someone in the audience might someday follow in her footsteps. Someone in that very hall might one day preside over the White House as the president's spouse. And, she said, I wish him well. Barbara Bush's speech was universally hailed as a triumph by everyone who saw it. And it was a triumph because Barbara Bush knew herself. Now, I don't think that Barbara Bush had formally studied the 9 questions, but her speech shows her astute understanding of context, perspective, and its influence on action.
You think I rock up here without thinking about investigating, studying, meditating on context and motivation and how it leads to action? Come
Barbara Bush knew she'd been shaped by the time she'd lived in, by the privileges she'd been afforded, and by the choices she'd made. She knew her partners had been shaped by a different time and perspective. Did Barbara Bush succeed in getting what she wanted? Yes. She connected with the Wellesley women. She honored them, and she did it with grace and humor.
I'm here to honor you guys, and I'm here to do it with grace and humor.
A new and a very personal journey to search for your own true colors. In the world that awaits you beyond the shores of Lake Waban, no one can say what your true colors will be. But this I do know. You have a first-class education from a first-class school. And so you need not, probably cannot, live a paint-by-numbers life. Decisions are not irrevocable. Choices do come back. And as you set off from Wellesley, I hope that many of you will consider making 3 very special choices. The first is to believe in something larger than yourself, to get involved in some of the big ideas of our time. I chose literacy because I honestly believe that if more people could read, write, and comprehend, we would be that much closer to solving so many of the problems that plague our nation and our society. And early on, I made another choice, which I hope you'll make as well. Whether you're talking about education, career, or service, you're talking about life. And life really must have joy. It's supposed to be fun. One of the reasons I made the most important decision of my life to marry George Bush is because he made me laugh. It's true, sometimes we laugh through our tears, but that shared laughter has been one of our strongest bonds. Find the joy in life, because as Ferris Bueller said on his day off, life moves pretty fast, and you don't stop and look around once in a while, you're gonna miss it.
So she won them over, and you can too. You too can be a winner. So the show yesterday was about how seriously should we take accusations of sexual misconduct if there's no supporting evidence. And these accusations come decades later. There's no criminal case. There's no supporting evidence. And Holly, the lawyer, says, I don't know that reporting someone after 30 years, even if the allegations are true, would give one a sense of relief. I can recall traumas from my childhood. But if I reported the people now, I don't think I'd feel much of anything. I moved on long ago. That woman who was going after Australia's Attorney General, so her name was Catherine Thornton, and Australia's Attorney General, Porter. What was his name? Christian Porter. Okay. That woman had mental illness. She was diagnosed bipolar. She took her own life. She projected onto that man from her past everything that she feels is wrong with her own life. It is as if she were thinking, if I can just make him pay, then everything wrong with me will be fixed. Well, doesn't necessarily work out that way. Now, I've written about people who've had allegations of sexual misconduct, including Rabbi Mark Gaffney. And Dennis Prager talked about him back on his show in 2016, noting hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Talks about one woman who has pursued Rabbi Mark Gaffney for 36 years. Yeah, she's ruined his life, but hasn't she ruined her life too? Yes, Mark Gaffney considered so toxic that the Forward had to provide feminist experts to counter his version of events, lest their readers be traumatized. All right. Steve Saylor's blog. Does COVID correlate with littering? So there's an article here in Lancet. The relationship between cultural tightness, looseness, COVID-19 cases, and deaths, a global analysis. So this Lancet article describes a study into the relationship between what they call cultural tightness and its opposite, cultural looseness, and COVID-19 cases and deaths. And I'm going to need a little bit of music to be able to get through this. Nice, soothing little bit of music. Okay, here we go. The authors say the difference between countries in their ability to limit COVID cases and deaths might be linked to cultural variation in the strength of social norms. Let's just meditate on what we're grateful for. Let's just think about someone we love. Okay, do COVID cases correlate with littering? Let's talk about cultural looseness, cultural tightness. Psychology has long recognized the power of social norms, implicit or explicit rules that constrain behavior. Power of social norms to regulate action. Countries around the globe vary widely in their adherence to social norms. We have tighter cultures such as China, Singapore, South Korea. Wow. I can think of another correlation between tightness and looseness. Can you think of any other correlations here between tightness and looseness that might, say, correlate with, say, Asians on the one hand and other peoples on the other? I've been with Asian women, and let's just put it this way, I've never found them loose. They've always been tight. So we got tight cultures such as China, Singapore, South Korea. They have stricter rules and punishments for deviance, whereas looser cultures such as Brazil, Spain, and the USA have weaker norms and are much more permissive. Like half the women I've been with have been way too loose. Now, I'm not, just between you and me, I'm not Long Dong Silver, right? I'm not John Holmes. Like, I'm just an average bloke. And when I pop in, I don't like to feel lost, all right? I've met, fantastic Sheilas. I'm all excited for this thrilling moment. And, I knock on the door, I go inside, and I'm just lost. It's like a cabin in there. Like half the women I've been with, at least, have been way too loose. You think I like that? I don't appreciate that. Like, if she's loose, and I'm just wailing away, I'm just like hammering away like a jackhammer. And I'm not getting anything. I'm not getting any friction. Like, I'm just lost. I'm just lost. It's like I'm swimming in the ocean. I've never had that experience with Asian women. But the rest of you, ladies, you've really got to tighten up. I mean, there are Kegel exercises. I think looseness down there correlates with promiscuity. Like, if you've had too many dicks, maybe... like, you never get the tightness again without taking extraordinary measures. Like, women go to so much effort in their looks, in exercise, in their appearance, in their makeup. But what about a little effort to make sure that you're snug and tight? Like, guys don't want to go someplace where it's, like, really loose. I mean, particularly like an average bloke like myself. You think we just want to, like, go to bed and feel like we're getting lost in the Grand Canyon? It's outrageous. Come on, ladies, you gotta tighten up. I don't know what exercises you need to do or you need to dial back the promiscuity, but I was so looking forward to getting, with this woman or that woman, and then the actual experience is total downer, right? There's just no friction. It's just, she's just had way too many dicks. And how do you think I feel being like number 45? Do you think I enjoy feeling like, 40 here, he's like the 45th bloke that this woman's had, and she's only 19. Like, that's not a thrill for me. So we need to tighten up our cultures and tighten up our nether regions. I am not for loose cultures. Please, listen to 40. So tight cultures have order. They have less crime. They have more coordination. They have more self-control. But we have looser cultures such as Brazil, Spain, and the United States. Well, particularly sections of these countries, where you have weaker norms, much more permissive, much more crime, and much more social dysfunction. Now, if you've lived in Hong Kong or a Northeast Asian country, you've noticed cultural tightness. And in the early stages of the COVID-19 epidemic, people in responsible, tight cultures spontaneously took steps to mitigate the spread by universally, voluntarily wearing masks, staying home. There were all sorts of social pressures to conform, usually subtle, usually enforced by eye contact and facial expressions. Very different from walking around LA. You have people stopping and go, "Oh, can I ask you a question? Why aren't you wearing a mask?" That's not subtle, right? It's usually some busybody yenta thing. "Hey, may I ask you a question?" "Sure." "Why aren't you wearing a mask?" I mean, come on, man. Like, as though 40 is going to be transmitting COVID. I mean, 40 leads an abstemious, moral, upstanding life. I'm not going around sharing the COVID. Holly says, in the words of a Chinese girl I spoke to once, "we matchy," referring to Asian men and women. Most races probably matchy between the men and women of the same race. Well, I got to tell you, white women, too often, no matchy, too loose. You've had too many cocks. And then it just ruins the experience for me. I mean, whatever you got to do, cut down on the promiscuity and do whatever exercises. All right? I don't want to be disappointed. Men don't want to be disappointed. Don't disappoint us, because then we get mad. And we get frustrated, and then we don't want to treat you like a queen. So things proceeded very differently with regard to COVID between the West and Asia. It's almost as if there were two different pandemics. So cultural tightness is a proxy for ethnic and cultural homogeneity. It's partly an in-group versus out-group thing. It's partly due to communication barriers. And Steve Saylor says, I wouldn't be surprised if the rate of COVID infections correlates with propensity to litter. For example, Japan has virtually no litter and no COVID.